Hi all, and welcome to another week of the Truth, Honour and Integrity Show. Tonight's date is October the 5th. My name's Thomas Williams. I'm going to say something before I play this first piece. It's not something I would normally play, but it kind of fits. And this goes out for the people that have been affected by the Manchester event, the 2 London Bridge events, the Grenville fire, the Paris events, Nice events, Barcelona events, Charlottesville events, the weather wars in Texas, Florida and Puerto Rico and the connecting islands, the event in Edmonton and the events playing out in Catalonia. And let's not forget what happened this week also in Vegas. Our hearts go out to all of the people, the above people affected by these mainly deliberate events, all designed to instill fear and promote agendas and collect donations. We have not forgotten all of you, and we will not forget you either. Ask not what you can do for your country. Ask, what can I do for our people? Once people learn to drop the labels, we are all brothers and sisters facing the same plight, facing the same darkness, and facing the same evil.
When you walk through a storm,
your heart will be tested in the coming weeks and months. Strengthen it. Your mind will also be tested in the coming weeks and months. Resolve it. You will all be tested at this time. And it's our time to be counted. We are in the times that this show has been preparing you for. Use it well. Focus your energy where it needs to go. Don't engage the stupid or the game players. They are a lost cause. Now is not the time to be hunkering down and hiding. Now is the time to stand in your own sovereignty and be the non-violent warrior all of you have. Violence is always the last resort, not the first. But rest assured, to those who choose to trample all over us like we don't matter, you underestimated the power of the people. You underestimated our resolve. You underestimated our spirit. And despite all you have done to us, we are still here and fighting for the good cause. We will not be put in fear. We will not back down. And we are here to reclaim the planet and all living things back to the way it should have been. Hi all, and welcome to another week of the Truth, Honour and Integrity Show. We have the usual news from around the world. We have some intel of what's going on, and we have a fair few op-ed pieces tonight, with the predominant one obviously being what happened in Vegas this week. It just defies belief, but we weren't warned about it. This show mentioned it several times that they would ramp up certain events to cover previous events. That's why I opened the show up in that way, to get people to remember and not forget all the events of the past, 6 months. Because they are repeating stuff and changing, using a sleight of hand again. Here's another event, so you forget what happened or what is happening in Catalonia. Catalonia that is highlighted, so you forget the previous event of the fake London bombing on the train, which then stopped people talking about the Barcelona event. I could go on and on and on and on. And this is what they're doing. All their events with their crisis actors, prostitutes, crisis actors. Well, basically, that's what they are. A blight on humanity. If you're that desperate to put thousands of people in fear and cost some people their lives, then really it's about time you ended your own. It just defies belief that people will take money to appear in those type of events. And it just boggles the mind. It really does boggle the mind. Right, let's get into the details of the show. Message again. 1 second. Right. So, if you want to send an email to the show, ask some questions for the show, or pass some comments on, or some details for an Evening with Thomas show, send the email to truth.honour.and.integrity@gmail.com, and the link for the show is www.spreaker.com/user/8955881. We have an articles website where you can also access this live show from there, and the archives of all the previous shows, including the big ones, in a separate category called thinkdifferent.thepeoplesclub.org. We have the Facebook page, Truth, Honour and Integrity, and we have a Facebook social media alternative called MeWe. Send a link to truth.honour.and.integrity@gmail, and we can add you to that group. We also have the People's Club donations website link, so people can go and see what is coming in the future. I know we've waited a while, but it is coming, and that is thepeoplesclub.org. Right, let's get into some minimal news items, some things to watch, things to look out for. We're going to start with the Trump administration. And apparently, because of the Equifax data breach, never let a crisis go to waste, it appears some in the government are exploring ways to replace the use of social security numbers as the main method of assuring people's identities. And the administration has called on federal departments and agencies to look into the vulnerabilities of employing the identifier tied to retirement benefits, as well as how to replace the existing system. According to Rob Joyce, a special assistant to the President and White House Cyber Security Coordinator. He went on to say, "I feel very strongly that the Social Security number has outlived its usefulness, and every time you use the Social Security number, you are put at risk." Really. A couple of things there. It could also mean the end of the UN. So the Social Security number is tied to the UN and the IMF via the Vatican. Now that they don't have control anymore, that could be why it's being replaced. That's the good version. The bad version is, could it be replaced by ID chips? Time will tell. All those who believe that the populace of the planet is going up and going through the roof, yet again more research suggests otherwise. Human reproduction update finds that human sperm production has declined 59.3% from between 1973 and 2011, near 60%. And they're warning it's trending towards a collapse of human population. I don't think that will be the case, but there is evidence of interference, as we all know. And the researchers found that 59.3% decline in total sperm count among men from North America, Europe, Australia and New Zealand, who were not selected based on their fertility status. So this is a plummet in the white race. They're the predominant countries for the white race. And these findings strongly suggest a significant decline in male reproductive health that has serious implications beyond fertility and reproduction, given recent evidence linking poor semen quality with higher risk of hospitalization and death. Chemical exposure causing feminization of biological males while destroying sperm production and viability. Yes, indeed. Although this was not the focus of this particular study, the same chemicals causing this plunge in sperm production may also be increasing non-male gender expression in biological males, leading an increase in the number of biological males to pursue transgender surgeries or lifestyle. Yes, it is. That's why there is an increase, because the hormonal balance in males has changed. There was a large demonstration in Dublin, in Ireland, last Saturday in favour, quite why in this day and age they still have to protest over this is beyond me, but there we go. Liberalising Ireland's tight abortion laws ahead of a planned referendum on the fiercely debated issue. The protesters chanted "My body, my choice" and waved placards reading "Not the church, not the state. Women should decide their fate." And Linda Kavanagh, the spokesman for the abortion rights campaign which organised the rally, told the AFP, "The message today is time to act, because we waited for a long time for a change. We want a full repeal, and we can't support exceptions and only 100 people allowed to get access to abortions." So apparently it's regulated. Now, abortion has always been illegal in Ireland, and yet in 1983 an 8th Amendment was added to the Constitution of Ireland after a referendum giving equal rights to the life of the unborn child and the mother. The law was changed 3 decades later to allow terminations when the mother's life is at risk. Now, following that came after public outrage at the death of a pregnant woman in 2012 who was refused an abortion. So people may want to know where I stand on this. I believe it's the mother's choice. It is her body. It is her that's delivering it. And yes, as a father, we've also participated, but we're not the ones that are carrying it. Now, what we also need to do is improve life conditions where abortions are not based on whether you can afford the child or not. That's where it's wrong. That's why this choice is put forward, because conditions towards supporting the child financially have become intolerable. And yet, that known terrorist and all-round evil, nasty man, Mr. Gaddafi, gave money to the parents for the child. $50,000 if memory serves me correctly. It's either $25,000 or $50,000 per child. So the child is looked after. Same also applies in Iran, funny enough. I know, another evil, nasty country that's riddled with human rights issues also pays for the child. And yes, the Western world doesn't. And we're supposed to be the ones more civilized. Yeah, right. So my choice is, it's up to the woman. It's up to the mother. She has to carry it round for 9 months. She's the one that has to nurture it. And yes, fathers do take part in it a bit more than they used to 20, 30, 40 years ago. But still a production of the mother, in my opinion. And you're free to disagree with it. But a lot of it is down to the conditions and the poverty surrounding it. And no child should be have its life shut off through lack of money. Edmonton, Canadian police, which is, this event is now being completely forgotten because of what happened in Vegas. Well, we're going to bring it up again because it shouldn't be, because it's another staged event. So Canadian police have confirmed they are investigating possible acts of terrorism after multiple incidents in Edmonton, Alberta last Saturday night. They said a police officer controlling traffic at the Canadian Football League game was struck by a car at high speed and then attacked with a knife. That doesn't sound like what happened in London twice, does it? Really? A man driving a van went on to hit at least 4 pedestrians and was arrested 2 hours later after a police chase. Police said the Islamic State group flag was found in one of the vehicles. Oh dear. It really defies belief. Anyway, Edmonton Police Service Chief Rod Knecht said the officer and his vehicle were rammed by a white Chevrolet Malibu at around 20:15 local time outside Alberta's Commonwealth Stadium. The driver then got out of his vehicle and stabbed the uniformed officer several times before fleeing on foot. The officer was taken to hospital, but his injuries are not thought to be life-threatening. That's a complete carbon copy of what happened in the 2 events in London. Van drives into people, man gets out, stabs cop. Okay. More violence. And again, we will not overlook these people either. The mayor of Barcelona, which is the capital of Catalonia, urged the Spanish police to immediately end their violence against a defenceless population. Spain's central authorities launched a massive crackdown on the Catalan independence referendum, which they say is illegal. Really? In a separate statement, the Catalan Health Service reported treating 465 casualties, 2 of them who are in serious condition in hospital. Spain's Interior Ministry said that 9 police officers and 3 civil guards sustained injuries during the clashes. Sunday's Catalan independence referendum was marked by violent clashes between voters and the police, which attempted to block Catalans from voting. forcibly removing them from polling stations as they went to vote. And I think some of you will have seen the videos, the police repeatedly using batons and rubber bullets against civilians, as multiple footages from the scene indicates. Catalan police are fighting back against the Spanish Guardia. So at least their police force are protecting their people. Note to the USA cops: it's time to protect your people also. Now, I'm going to cover this because of that previous story, because I think it's important to take stock of what's going on. We keep being told that this country and that country is democratic, which according to the definition is a government by the people, and the rule of the majority, not the 1%, and B, a government in which the supreme power is vested in the people and exercised by them directly or indirectly through a system of representation, usually involving periodically held free elections. Isn't it funny that when people of any country exercise their so-called democratic right, they are faced with a barrage of fascist police to stop them exercising the said right? But the King of Spain comes on and democratic this and democratic that. Yeah, right. So we have democratic, constitutional republic, communist, you name it. Different forms of government, and many believe they're all different. The reality is all governments are fascists against we the people. Period. And I don't particularly care which country or government you belong to, because the minute the public exercise their democratic right, out comes the Gestapo. You know, let's go back 17 years in a democratic country. People voted for Al Gore, but we got given idiot Bush, which largely went unchallenged, and so they just goose-stepped on. People in the UK voted for Brexit, an exit from the EU, and now the government's working to overturn it. The people of Catalonia are not even allowed to vote. They were throwing all the votes out, trashing them. This is out and out fascism. Where's the outrage from Western governments against Spain? Has Trump said anything this week? Maybe he has. Has Theresa May said anything about Spain? Or Merkel? No. But imagine if this was happening, or what happened in Catalonia. Imagine if this was happening in North Korea, or Iran, or Cuba, or Lebanon, or Russia, or China. Oh boy, you'd hear the difference then. The media would have a field day of mock outrage. You can't deny the people the right to vote. Let's all laugh in this country, given we got given idiot Bush, even though he never won. And yet all we've heard this week is silence. It's okay to baton and shoot people in the eye with rubber bullets because they don't have a right to vote. Wrong. There was a famous quote, "They fight us because of our freedoms." No, they fight us and the system because we have no freedoms. It's all an illusion again, as the hidden hand and the mask of fascism creep slowly but surely around the world, right in our faces. We have to start paying attention to every situation and every crime committed against all people, no matter what country they're from or what religion they are. Doesn't matter. So, what was going on whilst certain events was playing out, taking up airtime? How about Monsanto, DuPont, Dow Chemical, Bayer, Nazis, Syngenta and the Chinese National Chemical Corp all planning to merge into one giant cabal-oriented conglomerate? Indeed. Where are we going next? 3 more pieces. That should fit in. We'll have an early music break and then get into some intel. The Yemeni rebel forces have shot down a US MQ-9 Reaper drone in the Jadar area of the capital Sana'a this week. Citing an unnamed military official, the Houthi rebels and forces loyal to the former President Ali Abdullah Saleh are battling the Saudi-led coalition, which has been waging a military campaign in Yemen since 2015 in an attempt to reinstate the ousted leader, Mr. Hadi. I'm not pronouncing the first bit. And stop the rebels from taking over the entire country. The coalition's provided with intelligence and weapons by Washington. So they shot a drone down. The question remains, what have Yemen ever done to us? Why are we paying for a war for 2 years in Yemen when they've done no harm to America? Far too many of those questions, in my opinion. Wells Fargo CEO Tim Sloan faces a grilling before the Senate Banking Committee this week as Wells Fargo continues to try to put his fake account scandal in the past. Yeah, right. Fargo outlined a string of reforms the bank has put into place since the issue came to light in September of 2016. However, committee members are likely to continue to hammer on the bank for its conduct. The changes Mr. Sloan and his team have made are not sufficient, it was said in a meeting, to reform a corporate culture that is willing to abuse its customers and employees in an effort to pad its numbers and increase executive compensation. That was said by Senator Sherrod Brown of Ohio. And investigators in the bank have revealed that some 3.5 million accounts were affected by conduct in which employees enrolled the customers into accounts without their knowledge. The cross-selling was done to meet aggressive sales goals that have since been terminated, according to the Wells Fargo CEO. So they've been trying, Wells Fargo have been trying to reform since 2016 September, according to the CEO. You weren't reforming in November of last year, were you, Mr. Sloan? When you were trying to take over the bankrupt Federal Reserve. Oops. That's not a sign of reform. That's more financial skullduggery to me. I wonder if this is the same clown that asked for 80 quadrillion. He was just going to drop into the economy. You can't even drop 80 trillion, never mind quadrillion. Probably is. Final story this will be, I think. A lot to cover tonight. The media. We'll have more on them later. Doing what they know best. This week in particular, lie and divert attention away from something else that's going on. The holes in the official line of Vegas fell apart on so many levels. They've now resorted to pettiness, yesterday this was, as to whether the United States Secretary of State called Trump a moron, or whether he offered his resignation or not. Really? You know, are people really interested in that? There's people dying, and there's all kinds of poverty, etc., etc. People losing jobs, people losing homes. And all they're interested in is whether the Secretary of State called Trump a moron. Kindergarten stuff. I think you have to be kindergarten level to watch it, to be quite honest. Right, where do we go next? Maybe we'll have a music break. Let me just check a few things. No, let's go into this before we go into a music break. Illusions. I mentioned it on the page this week, and I said I could probably end up doing a show on what is an illusion, and what a lot of us have learned during our time, not only listening to this show but many others, or reading people's material and opinion. Well, here's an example of maybe how far you've come in understanding the illusions. Illusion 1. We live in a patriarchal society. That's an illusion. We live in a democracy. That's an illusion. United States is a republic or constitutional. That's an illusion. Blacks were the only ones as slaves. Illusion. Only white people created and captured slaves. That's an illusion. Religion is the only way forward. Illusion. Popes, priests, bishops, cardinals are righteous and good role models. Yeah, right. Praying to an external entity will help or save you. Illusion. Jesus will save you. Jesus was a Christian. Illusion. The Lord will save you. No, the Lord has done the damage here. The Lord is Anu. Whether people like that or not, it's the truth. ETs will save you. Illusion. The moon is a natural object. Governance operates on behalf of the people. That's some illusion there. The police are there to protect the people and observe law. Schools are there to educate the children. Hospitals are there to make us better. All an illusion. Doctors and nurses know best how to cure or fix us. Nope. Teachers know better than the parents. Nope. Vaccines are there to stop us being sick. Yeah, right. Pills are there to make us feel better. Illusion. Water fluoridation is to fix your teeth. How people fell for that is beyond me. Fluoride in its natural form is hazmat, and we're putting it in our mouth. It'll fix your teeth. Your teeth will be fine, but the rest of you will just decay, and all you'll have left is your teeth. Washington DC or Columbia is part of America. Illusion. City of London is part of the UK. Illusion. Star Wars is the future. Illusion. Television is to educate us. The news people tell you only the truth and the facts. Massive illusion. The Bush family are American. Illusion. What we see with our eyes is reality, and what we hear is reality. Illusion. America and the Allies won World War II. Illusion. America is the land of the free. Illusion. Charities are for good causes. Yeah, right. Death is the end. An illusion. Income tax in America is legal. An illusion. Income tax goes to American people. A big illusion. The IRS, Federal Reserve, Department of Homeland Security, NASA are all American companies. Nope. Illusion. New Age beliefs is beneficial for the awakened. Nope. Illusion. And the biggest one, prevalent today, I could have gone on and on with this. I think this is enough for now. They said the Nazis would never rise again. That's an illusion as well. Now, the music world lost a rather popular singer this week, and I'm going to play a couple of his or their songs, and this first one is prevalent to we the people. Tom Petty tribute. Hi all and welcome back. Two songs there by Tom Petty, who sadly died this week, and a song for Peyton. I hope you enjoyed that. I think that's our youngest listener, by the way, so I hope they enjoyed that. Right, where are we next? Oh boy. Some intel. Item 1. The cabal and the top brass in this country are trying to force certain people into signing off on their latest round of financial bullshittery, known as the USN. Yet another note. Of course, the previous attempt, the TRN, the Treasury Reserve Note, failed spectacularly. This one will also. No one will sign off on it. So they're trying to pull off another load of fiat bullshittery and more debt-based currency to sink everyone further, and also allow them to continue printing. Largely they've been cut off, but if they issue a new note, they think they'll be back in the game. No one will sign off on it. Now, the directive that was started last week against the Rothschild people and all who are connected, part of, or working for, continues apace. There have been more firings and more arrests. I don't have the actual figures, but it's still ongoing. Now, the cabal planned Las Vegas, but it was not as big of an event as they had wanted. They wanted to go worse. What they are trying to pull off is another 9/11 style event. They have stated they will continue and will likely increase the events going on around the world until their demands are met. We the people will not be meeting their demands, only their demise. A full-scale war is now in place. Agency fighting agency. Good guys fighting cabal agents in the Pentagon, the White House, and Langley. Now, it will get ugly. There's no question of that. It already has. It will likely lead to heavier types of violence, and a warning, it may spill out onto the streets in America. There's no guarantee it will take place, but the way things are going with them now, I wouldn't rule it out either. Message to the militia. Time you got ready. Where are we next? The cabal attended a ceremonial event last night in Cuba. It was a full-on ritual sacrifice event. Sexual rituals and also human sacrifices were made. They were also attempting to open up portals. That failed. They also tried to get certain galactics to sign off on a new treaty similar to the one with the Draco 16,500 years ago. No galactics turned up. Oops. Now, part of the ceremony was to do with the Pindar. Obama has been removed as the Pindar. A failed experiment. and from what I understand, the first time ever a female has replaced him, known as Hillary Clinton, also known as Hitlery, and a better description would be Anne, as in android. This, the cabal feel, will give them more power, and she will deliver what they want. Our message to them is she won't, and you will fail. This is the third Pindar this year. The other two, one was kicked out, the first one left because he realised it was all bullshit, period. A false title. Now, Hillary was so confident she would prevail with the ceremonial ritual event last night. She was issuing new job positions to certain people in this country and other countries today. Don't you just love her? No. Well, Anne, it was just like you were so confident of winning a one-horse election. That failed also. Your original lost that as well. So what is Pindar? Means lizard king, king of the Draco. So the human representation of the Draco. It's also known as penis of the dragon. Yeah, you heard that right. Which is ironic, really, given the original Hitler's lesbian past. Is it not? But it also now means that she is now the head of the 13 ruling Illuminati families. Now this is going out to those who engage with Anne. If you choose to engage with her, we'll fool you. She's a false titled entity. She is the leader of the new Titanic that actually sank in 2012. Bankrupt. No sovereignty. Nothing. She has no money or access to any to give you, although she will promise, but not deliver. Just like she promised all America's in-ground resources. That failed also. Just like the Rothschilds, who failed to deliver the said RV. Just like the Chinese elders, who failed to deliver for 25 years. She also has no assets and no access to any assets either. Zip. Nada. Go and check for yourself. Ask her for the proof up front, but I warn you, you will have a long wait for her to deliver anything but bullshittery. As warned, this show warned recently the false flag events would increase. One in France, one in Edmonton, and obviously Las Vegas. Now, for what we know, 59 are dead and 500 are injured. But that's backfired spectacularly, hasn't it? Media scrabbling over themselves, trying to cover the narrative. It failed. And before I play a song for Anne, the final piece of two pieces of intel I want to add. The tribal treaty is in force. The signatures are continuing. The rubber stamping is coming soon. With regards to what we the people are doing, their threats, demands and false flags have changed absolutely nothing, and we will continue to push forward, and we are progressing rather well. This is for Hillary, or Anne. Hi all and welcome back. I hope people grasp that. Yes, it's got elements that could put people in fear. Don't. The biggest people in fear now are the cabal, and don't let anyone tell you any different. They're in complete meltdown and panic mode. 3 Pindars this year. False flags being pushed here, there and everywhere to facilitate certain agendas and also put people in fear, which then creates the problem reaction solution, which they love to play. Get Americans to start shouting, get rid of the guns. Go and ask the Turkish people, or the Russian people, or the Chinese people, what happens when you give your guns up. Near 100 million people were rounded up and exterminated after giving up guns in the last 100 years. Me personally, I don't like them. I'm not a lover of violence, but rest assured, if Americans didn't have guns, we would have fallen by now. They would have goose stepped right through this country. So keep hold of them at all costs, because while we've got them, we have the upper hand. Yes, they will carry on. What we're dealing with is humans mainly, who have the same psychotic disease as the Draco. Their lord and their set Anne. They can't help themselves. And in some ways I understand why. Because if I'd committed the crimes that they'd done, sacrifices, creating wars for nothing, for the benefit of financial gain, creating wars to the benefit of collecting more land, which they can dig up and sell for more once they remove the people. Perfect example of that was Haiti. Maybe Puerto Rico's next. So when the public stop pussyfooting around, the general public, and accept what is real and not the illusion that's played out on the mainstream media, you've got one giant collection of very angry people who are going to want blood. Theirs. That's why I kinda came to the conclusion from an overview point of view of a disclaimer, full disclosure, but no one gets hung. They will see out their life away from society and die. Then they meet their maker. Good luck with that. Sadly, they refused that offer and fight on. We knew there would be a group that would fight on. Like I said, they've committed too many heinous crimes. Their lust for power and greed has no end. But rest assured, we've taken a load of their minions away from them who are now working against them. A load, and I mean a load, who were once part of the cabal Illuminati. Their power, in essence, is an illusion as well, because too many sleepers gave them the platform. But a lot of sleepers this week decided to wake up. The next piece will be why. So we'll now go to the Vegas, and I think it's clear by now to everyone it wasn't only one gunman. If it was only one gunman, why were 2 windows broken, 11 windows apart? 2. How did he manage to get the very room where the windows faced the concert? How many thousands of rooms are in the Mandalay? And he gets the corner closest to the concert. Coincidence? Yeah, right. 3. Did the hotel staff not notice him allegedly carrying 10 or more guns in? Or was it a drill? 4. He allegedly fired from half a mile away. I am not familiar with certain guns, having not been in the military. So I asked. A long rifle gun would not shoot in that manner, I was told. So then they changed the story to semi-automatic and automatic, and it swings from one way to the other. Number 5. If it was one gunman firing from half a mile away, why did the second round of fire appear to be just outside the marquee tent inside the concert? Oops. For those of you who haven't listened, you'll see a white marquee tent and people inside it hunkering down. That sound of gunfire is military grade weapons, and it's certainly not half a mile away. Point 6. Yet again, we have witnesses come on the TV appearing fake, not genuine in their descriptions of the aftermath. In fact, 2 of them were laughing. Again, find out who these people are, name and shame them out of our communities. We don't want them in our midst. You don't have to be violent. You just have to harass them, put them in fear, like they've put the people of Vegas in fear. We don't want them in our communities. Period. Somebody must know who the woman with the dark hair was, and the blonde woman, the older woman. She was laughing. Point 7. A witness on TV stated early on, not long after the shootings, that a gunman from the 32nd floor was shooting at people. How did he know it was the 32nd floor? From half a mile away, where it's actually not physically possible to see the lower levels of the Mandalay from the concert. Even so, even if he mind-bogglingly, to me, attempted to count the floors, it was not possible to ascertain the 32nd floor from the concert. At least 10 floors you cannot see. I mean, who in the right mind is in an event where people are dropping like flies, blood everywhere, dodging bullets, decides to count the number of floors up? Does that make any sense? No. Script. That's what that is. Point number 8. Not an avid gun guy at all. Where the hell did he get the automatic weapons? He has no military background. Who said that? The gunman's brother. Not a gun guy. Where did he get the automatic weapons and has no military background? Point number 9. Who was the woman who told a group of the concert goers, "You're all going to die tonight"? 45 minutes before the incident. Did she know? The alleged patsy? Or was she part of the witness, ready to go on live TV? Coincidentally, it's funny how they all turned up so quickly, isn't it? Point 10. There was no political or religious manifesto, and his mystified brother reported that he had no such interests. He had no known mental health record and no criminal record. Again, that was from his brother. Although I'll warn people, his brother is linked to an Orlando Pulse nightclub public relations group. Of course, the Pulse nightclub, 49 people died, and that was the record according to the media, forgetting all the genocide of previous events last year. Number 11. ISIS claimed responsibility. Listen closely. People who regularly listen to this show know who ISIS really is. We have been told by various heads of state in various countries who operates ISIS. I keep telling you where the elephant in the room is. How long do we keep ignoring it, is the question. Now, according to the media, the shooter Stephen Paddock wired $100,000 to an account to his live-in girlfriend's home in the Philippines, of all countries. Of course, we know what's been going on in the Philippines over the last few months, which happened a week before the shooting took place, according to multiple senior law enforcement officials. But while the officials confirmed that Marilu Danley was in the Philippines on Sunday when Paddock allegedly opened fire on a crowd, it is not known whether the money was for her, her family, or another purpose. Ms. Danley, who had travelled to Hong Kong, those you can put two and two together on that, on September the 25th, could fill in some of the blanks when she returns to America on Wednesday. Her arrival at the airport was not known at the time I was writing this piece up. Point 12. Is it a coincidence the festival was called Harvest? Point 13. Notice the media had to change their script from long rifle to he must have modified the guns to make that firing sound. No, the reality is people cottoned on to the fact that there was two different guns at least. One in the distance from Mandalay and another one directly above the taxi that was in the rank at Mandalay. Not 32 floors up. No, nowhere near it. Now, if the media's story is correct, why are they deleting the live Vegas videos off Facebook and YouTube? Point 15. Of all the videos I've seen this week, I've yet to see one security person in or around the audience of the concert. Where were they? Point 16. Isn't it rather interesting both Robert David Steele and Alex Jones blamed Mossad? Those of you who listen to the show regularly will know where I'm going with that. Sleight of hand again. Point 17. Now, I don't watch the TV, but I've yet to see an interview. So if I'm wrong on this, but when I wrote this piece, I had not seen any evidence of it. Why hasn't the singer who was on stage when the shooting took place been questioned on air? Point 18. The all-American hero again, who saved lives. This time it's a guy called Mr. Campos, who's set up as the everyday American hero. Mr. Mr. Campos had been in the building patrolling the halls, this is the Mandalay, and was sent to the area of commotion. When he got to the shooter's floor, Campos found the stairwells had been barricaded and he had to use the elevator. He told local union officials, when Campos approached Paddock's suite, the shooter fired through the door, striking Mr. Campos in the upper right thigh. This was reported by the president of the International Union of Security, Police and Fire Professionals of America. Mr. Campos faced well over 200 rounds, according to the sheriff, Joseph Lombardo of Las Vegas Metropolitan Police. It's amazing that the security guard didn't sustain additional injury. Indeed. After being shot, Campos spoke with police officers at 10:18, giving them the shooter's exact room and the key pass. Remember that bit? Sheriff Lombardo went on, his bravery was amazing because he remained with our officers, providing them with the key pass to access the door and continue to help them clear rooms until officers demanded he seek medical attention. Yet the media reported that the cops used explosives to open the door and Mr. Paddock was already dead. If they had the key pass to get in, why and where did the explosives come from? Point 19. Where is all the security camera footage, both in the Mandalay and the Strip and the concert? Yet again, like other events, they mysteriously don't work. "20. Where is the actual proof that Mr. Paddock, the alleged shooter, is dead? Is there any pictures? Any video? How is it that we, who are known as conspiracy theorists, have to produce volumes of evidence, but they just tell you and show zero proof for anything? It's like the Sandy Hook. Yes, I know a lot of people may not want to have seen dead kids, but they might have wanted to see who Adam Lanza was and prove he was dead. Nothing. Because there is none. Point 21. You can expect more airport-style body scanners in other venues. Remember the fake shoe bomber, Richard Breed, on a flight back in December 2001? That brought in airport body scanners. And it also brought in sexual perverts known as the TSA. I would expect some announcement for those to be brought in. It's up to us to turn around and say, go away with them. Boycott events that have them. That's how people change what they don't like. But also watch out for Messrs. Chertoff and Adelson out of the government and OSI links. They control the company for those machines. So, 21 points there. None of it makes any sort of sense. Or none of their narrative anyway. And it, sadly, it's cost a lot of people their lives. But if some good comes out of it, if it wakes up many, many thousands of people into the reality of what is going on here and in other countries, they have warned us there will be more events of that nature until we back down to their demands. We're not. We've backed down for 16,500 years. No more. Something else I need to cover. It may upset some, but we have to get real here. We really have to get real. If your focus is on Republican or Democrat or Liberal or left or right, if your focus is on NFL, flags, anthems, or just your country, if your focus is on whether Trump is valid or not, you're part of the problem, not part of the solution. Now, like I said, I'm sorry if that upsets some, but all who listen to this show will know why I've said it. I've shown the evidence supporting all those statements as to why none of that is valid or relevant to we the people. The flags and the anthem belong to Britain. Whether American people like that idea or not, it's the truth. If you don't believe me, go and research it yourself. It's all there. Do you want to continue under the crown, or do you want to real independence and a real America? Not the United States. America. United States, and all reference to United States is the corporation. aka the Crown of England. Do we really want to be waving their flags or singing their ditties? NFL sold out to the military for an agenda. So if they're going down on one knee in protest against the flag, I support it, because all the people should do it. Some will choose to ignore it and continue on. Well, you can continue to believe in the old paradigms of slavery and oppression, or you can create a new way of being, and ignoring it will be at your own and other people's cost. They're waving a foreign agent flag in your face. Tell them we don't want it. We don't want the anthem that you've given us. Yes, I know old habits die hard. I've always been a Republican, I've always been a Democrat, I've always been a Liberal, or a left or right, whatever that means. No. you've always been American. And it's people, not the country. JFK famously said, ask not what your country can do for you, but what can you do for your country? I'd like to ask, what has your country ever done for you to warrant such unquestioning admiration? Poisoned you, sprayed you, sent you to wars that has nothing to do with America or its people. Raped and pillaged, stole your homes. Tortured. Go and research Hotel California, you'll find out where all the missing Vietnam veterans went. Operation Northwoods, MK Ultra. I could go on and on. So it's time to ask not what you can do for your country. It's time to ask what can we do for each other, and forget countries, forget borders, forget cultures, and forget colours. The reality is we're all in this together, and they have declared full-scale war on us, and we have on them. And so flags, anthems, NFL, Republican, Democrat, Liberal, left, right, has no relevance to we the people and us removing the cabal. None. Message to those awake and asleep. Choosing to ignore the blatantly obvious by now of the nature and volume of false flag events is pure folly. To the people who choose to ignore it, you are complicit in murder of your fellow man. Period. If the sleepers won't debate you on these events, I know many have spoken about this, it's time to call them out for what they are. Complicit and accessories to mass murder and fear programs. Enough pussyfooting around these people. So what are they trying to achieve globally? Well, I'm going to refer you to two movies. Hunger Games, where people are corralled into districts in impoverished conditions and told to fight each other for the enjoyment of the elites. Sound familiar? And the other movie was Divergent. Kind of similar to the Hunger Games, except they categorise people more by their nature and demeanour. Those that didn't fit their little boxes were called divergents. All who listen to this show, apart from the agents that tune in, are divergents. And of course the divergents were designated to be taken down by any means necessary in the movie. And the reality is both movies were about labelling people according to how they see fit. It's time we stop doing that, methinks. And technically, I understand that. It's kind of contradictory in a way, calling people sleepers. And in essence, that is correct. But it's also justified given they are part of the problem and not part of the solution. How many more blatant staged events do they need to see through the illusion? Like I mentioned earlier, the Canada one. Muslim stroke ISIS stroke racist boogeyman drives van onto the pavement, runs people over, gets out, stabs cop. That happened on 2 different London bridges in 2 locations. And then it magically transported itself to Edmonton, but the same thing happened again. All 3 times the guy, we are told, was shot. Dead can't talk, can they? Isn't it better that a man with a knife cannot just be taken down instead of being shot? Then we can find out who else he's connected to. No, they just shoot dead. People not see the connection to that none of these people survived these staged events, the patsies, none of them anymore. They realised that mistake with the JFK, Lee Harvey Oswald. He talked too much. How are we for time? Now, this show, I've been told, is getting a lot of attention, which is good in some ways. Many plaudits, again, which is good. And there's also many people attacking us. We had further evidence of that this week with some members of Cosmic Voice who still play the divide and conquer game. Or our group and Intel is better than your groups. Yeah, right. Like that is also important. It's not. But the fact that we are getting so much attention, both good and bad, is a compliment to the effectiveness of the show. So I thank both groups for your compliments, because it shows to me we're on the right track. Oops. It's time Drake stopped playing both sides and came out definitive one way or the other, because that's really the problem at the moment. A couple of small news items before we go into a music break, and then some questions. Involves Mr. Trump, who went to Puerto Rico to see the damage and the carnage left there, and it didn't go too well, did it? Well, you know, I kind of get it with Trump. He was in a no-win situation going over there, but making jokes about their plight and undermining their death toll by making the comparisons to Katrina and complaining that Puerto Rico was making a dent in our budget was not the way to act in anyone's book. It's just not. It doesn't matter whether Vegas, more people died in Vegas than died in Orlando last year. The point is, people died. I'm babbling about putting a dent in our budget being United States Inc. I didn't hear the complaining when they were raping Puerto Rico to install them as the hidden 51st state. Not good. Now, Mr. Trump announced he was seeking $29 billion for disaster relief, $13 billion for Texas, Florida and Puerto Rico. All very good. And then $16 billion for a government-backed flood insurance program. Really? So basically now, if that gets approved, all people who pay flood insurance should have all their policies zeroed out. Because the insurance people have already had the flood insurance money by receiving 16 billion of the people's money. Where's all the people's insurance money when there was no flood? Where's all that gone? So in essence, the American people's money have paid for all the flood insurance going forward, 16 billion of it. And yet they're still going to have the audacity to ask us to pay a monthly, quarterly or yearly premium, aren't they? When the government's already paid for it. Something to ponder. Right, we're going to have a couple of songs and then we're going to go into some questions in the final hour. Where I'll be going with next. Song for James Godbeer. And this song is kind of fitting for What About Us? What About Us, Mr. Trump? Hi all and welcome back to the final hour of this evening's show. Another thing I'd just like to add to something I mentioned earlier about the flag. It's not just the American flag that's a symbol of oppression. So is the Union Jack back in my birthplace. And it's time both countries realised Union Jack, Stars and Stripes, stand for oppression of the people of both countries and the connecting countries like Puerto Rico, US Virgin Islands, Micronesia, Guam, and then Britain and its 52 Commonwealth countries under their control. The flag in both countries and the corresponding countries are all symbols of oppression against we the people. Right, let's get into some questions, some interesting ones tonight. Question: how can the good guys know what's in someone's heart, even if the person in question is a cabal member? And how can they know who is good, not evil, and who is lost? There may be thousands or millions of cabal members, and this seems a monumental task to separate the good from the bad. This is not going to be a people's choice. This is soul level. Source knows the difference. It's not a matter of A load of people deciding they're good and they're not. You're going there and you're going there. Your own soul resonance dictates what you are and what you've done. Don't think anyone who listens to this show would be labelled as evil. Some of us who listen to the show may not have done some good in their life. We've all done wrong things that we regret. But the point is, we regret it. The difference between the evil is they don't. And the darkened soul is recognisable by the source. I recently read that Prince Harry will be announcing the official beginning of the New World Order, while in Canada, well, he can announce what he likes, he won't get it. Attached is a photo of Melania Trump and Prince Harry at the Invictus Games in Toronto. I once read that Prince Harry said he wanted to make his mother proud. It is my imagination, or is Prince Harry posing using an Illuminati hand signal in the first photo? If yes, then I feel as if he killed his mother all over again, and I don't understand why he would join the very group responsible for her death. Well, she's not dead, and she's not good either, but she is helping in a certain way to prevent further fun and games. Lots of these people look about. I'm not asking for people to give them sympathy. They made a choice largely. Some of them didn't have a choice. Some of them were born into families and were corralled into doing things that they wouldn't normally choose to do. So there is elements to that. But there's also elements at the top who revel in it. My understanding is Prince Harry's not even royal blood. His brother is, but Prince Harry's not. Whether he made the signal, there's rumours he made the signal. That could be interpreted that it wasn't the real Melania Trump that attended. What does it mean to be a sovereign human being? The word has a root connection to reign, R-E-I-G-N, not the water rain, with an association to royalty and monarchs. Why can't a person just say that they are sovereign and have the universe and the environment accept this? And what are some of the things we can do each day to claim our sovereignty? The Kingdom of Manners show, though very uplifting, made sovereignty seem somewhat complicated. Well, perhaps you may need to listen to that particular question and answer again. The reality is, the term monarch has become a form of government, as in monarchy, and that involves reigning and the king. But the word has been changed over time. It now means royalty. When you say monarch, most people think of Queen Elizabeth. The reality is, all of us are monarchs. And all of us are entitled to that same status as any, whether it be the Queen of England, or the King of Spain, or the King of Holland. We're all monarchs. the original term of it, which means we have a sovereign choice to be sovereign. Not just them, where they, as sovereigns, can then make decisions on behalf of the people. No. This is what the Kingdom of Manor is all about, where the playing field goes back to the original, before the Draco Treaty and all the Draco and their hierarchy. Once countries are all declared sovereign, because you can't have the people being declared sovereign before the country, country is borders and all that. But until we attain the mindset to realise what a country means, we're still operating in the old ways. So let's just say some people applied to be a sovereign before the country of where they're living. Say, for argument's sake, Idiot Bush. I'm going to become sovereign, and he gets first, and then he declares he's the owner, being the only sovereign of America. There's people with massive egos who are not cabal, who would jump at that. Don't have to name names. There's a few in the community. So the object is, Kingdom of Manor have done the blueprint. They are the only sovereign nation on the planet. What the Kingdom of Manor is doing is providing the same blueprint for every other country to declare joint sovereignty. Not Kingdom of Manor rule over everybody else. No, every country will be the same. Clearly, that's not the case now. Look at Puerto Rico. Corralled under the banner of USA Inc. Look what happened to India under the banner of British rule. Australia, New Zealand, British rule. Pakistan, under British rule. Palestine was under British rule. Or Guam. Do you not think their countries would like their country back, and not American bases on all of them? Or British deciding what they can vote in the UN? Britain has control of the UN because of the Commonwealth. They have 53 votes. Every other country has 1. Why? Because the ones that were under the Commonwealth rule, who were given back some sort of independence, again, a bit like America, it's an illusion, still had to vote with the mother country, and the mother country being Britain. Like Hong Kong, they have to vote with Britain, even though they got their independence back. So, what are some of the things we can do each day to claim our sovereignty? Well, there's 144 countries, a whole heap of which listened to that Kingdom of Manor show of how to do it and how to go about it, and they've asked for the blueprints, and a large number of them are going to proceed with it. Once the 209 countries accept and go for sovereignty, the next step is to declare all the people sovereign also. So there's no one ruling anybody. and everyone becomes a sovereign, everyone has the same equal vote and right as anybody else. It's none of this hierarchy nonsense, 1% and elites and royalty and kings and queens like the bloody insect realm. That's what sovereignty is about. And a lot of giant strides have been made towards that. And this is why they're getting rattled. Because the UN has no power anymore. None. You see what we reported in the show last week and the one week before. The Rothschilds threatening the UN countries. You put us back in charge of it, which then tells you what we've been telling you previous, that they have no rule over anything anymore. I just wish some of the clowns in the Pentagon and Langley would listen. Basically, with them making threats to the UN, that the Rothschilds are telling you they don't own or claim nothing anymore. And they're trying to corral the countries into putting them back in control of the UN. No, was the answer. And 78 countries declared war on the Rothschilds. Oops. The UN's not sovereign, so the UN can't make treaties or agreements. So I hope that answers the question. Can you tell at this point if the results of the raids will show up in the world in a real way soon, or will we really not see a difference before the sovereignty ceremony? You will see a difference. You may not like it. It could get ugly. Could. This is why lots of things are being done behind the scenes to not spook the majority of the people. But in essence, the results of the raids showed up in Vegas this week. Will Chloe be a guest on An Evening with Thomas? Yes, when time allows. We may be, there won't be a show this weekend. There may be a show, not An Evening with Thomas, on Tuesday. We'll see what happens, whether time fits it in. There may be a special show next Tuesday. I'll have more details in the next coming days. I think the next Evening with Thomas will be in 2 weeks' time. 2 weeks on Sunday. We'll see. We've got a rather interesting guest that has very surprising to some information. It's good. A bit like Brandy Dupre in many ways. So look forward to that. If the cabal starts producing events like the Sunday night one in Vegas, what will they be gaining from events at this point? Is it a retaliation thing? Yes, it is retaliation. Petulant brats that they are. They're trying to corral the people into fear and corral the sleepers into reacting and demanding that certain elements of the government, not all, do something about the guns and remove it off the people. If that ever takes place, I would advise everyone to leave America, because then he will come. When we end this for good, what do you see yourself as a role for your good self? Any plans or ideas? I've got some ideas. Whether they come to fruition remains to be seen. I've no idea. I've been asked to take part, obviously, in the foundation. I've asked to take part in another project, and I'm also involved in another one. Which one prevails remains to be seen at this point. There may be more offers. The reality is, whichever one I'm offered, or whichever one I accept, it's going to be for the benefit of all, not for the benefit of I. And that puts me apart from a number of people in the community, sadly. I have an ideal job in mind, and in essence I have been doing it in some ways, albeit hidden, but I would like it one day to go public, and hopefully that will be sooner rather than later. All a bit cryptic, I know. The new Earth is very close but also far away. Could you explain more about this? Not at the moment. When time is right. There's new Earth in Andromeda Galaxy opposite us, and on another arm of the four that extended out to the centre of the pleroma. No. And we're not going to Sirius, and we're not going to Orion either. Will the militia be used to assist in the arrest process? Some of them are assisting already. You won't hear of them as they're not on the internet. They don't have Facebook pages, and they don't have blogs. If the more open militia are in use, that won't be too nice. I'm hoping just the hidden ones will be used, because if it goes to the open militia, it means it's full-scale war on the streets, and that we're trying to avoid. When will they be removing the UN troops that are currently in our country? No comment. Will we see the arrests starting to happen, and how soon can the current media establishment be removed and replaced? Tired of dealing with sleepers and trolls. Time for the brainwash to be woken up if possible. I have no specific dates, and I won't give dates. We've had far too many of them over the last 4 or 5 years. Great time. I know he loves me saying that. It's ongoing. How long it takes depends on how many of the countries decide, you know what, we've had enough of this. We can't carry on being threatened by these clowns, having our resources stolen. We have an obligation to the people. Well, 78 countries in the UN decided they'd had enough of it and decided to go for it. One hopes the other 140-ish, 130-ish will follow suit. Then we really can move things a lot quicker. How long can we expect the clean-up to finish? Are we talking weeks, months or years? Again, it depends on what you mean by clean-up. Full clean-up is 40 years to get to the system and the restoration of the planet and its people, to set in motion a better way of being, a better way of living, a better way of bringing up the children, a better way of providing for the children, a better way of living in harmony with Mother Nature, a better way of government, a better way of education. So that's the long-term goal. Will there be things that take place? Things are taking place on an hourly basis now. It's rather difficult to keep up with the different aspects of it. You know, we covered a lot of aspects in this show every week, and then people go, what about that treaty? Well, I asked about it and I got an answer, but I could be asking, what about this and what about that, and what's going on here, and who's doing this, and what, when, where and why, in this country, that country, or that country. Or even stuff that's going on underground or underwater or above our heads. So much going on. Curious is your opinion as to how far this goes before we leap. Who's leaping? Some already have. Like I said, 78 countries after the threat in the UN decided to take action. 144 countries are interested in applying for sovereignty. That negates USA Inc., Crown of England and the Vatican completely by declaring themselves sovereign. That also rules out interference by the UN or any World Bank nonsense or central bank nonsense, because they can have their own bank, not a Rothschild's bank. I think I might know about the Rothschilds group that was trying to take over the UN. I think it's the small group that's been pushing to dissolve the UN and replace it with what they call the Covenant of Democratic Nations. Am I right? I don't think it's small. Yes, they might replace it. You just call it New World Order. But we're not interested in their New World Order. For those who feel led to step into leadership roles in our newly freed country, what is the process for doing so? Stand up. You know, we've mentioned this before about leadership. It's about all of us being leaders. Leadership is not about ruling over people. Leadership is about setting the example and teaching, showing people the right way. Lead by example, not rule. And so the leaders can come from any walk of life going forward, if that's what the people choose. There's a leader in us all. Yes, I know some like to get behind one or two people, and that's fine. I'm also, whilst I am perceived as being a leader, I was like that at school, and I was like that in work, and I was like that in sport. Captain of this and captain of that. But I set the example. No. Goose step over people. You do this, you do that. You never get anywhere in life talking to people in that manner. It's like the movie Matrix. I've said it before. It's not about one Neo. It's about all of us becoming Neo. So we need millions of Neos or billions of Neos. Not one. The dark have the millions of Smiths. We need millions of Neos. Well, I would accept, I've always liked playing a lead role. I'm just as comfortable playing a role behind the scenes and supporting the leader as long as they're doing the right thing. If they don't, then I step forward. And that should always be the way. It's not about being the one or about the ego. I'm the leader. No. I am the example to be set. Is the way forward for people wishing to become leaders. If it's just about titles, forget it. I'm not really interested in titles. And any real leader is not interested in titles either. Only about teaching and setting the right example. Are the cabal and royal families into cocaine and drug trade because King William Alexander, which is the King of Holland, or now known as the Netherlands, went to Saint Martin, which is an island owned by the Dutch for now? Maybe they can declare sovereignty, because I don't think, like Martinique, owned by the French, they've been complaining about France not supporting or coming to their aid following the weather wars that we've just had. Anyway, this person says, my feeling is he went to see if the plantations were okay. Or maybe he just went to see the storm damage, tell them we'll send funds and then not bother. A bit like the French in Martinique. And it has to be said, a bit like America and Puerto Rico. Yes, I know some help is going, but it should have been a lot sooner. Do you have anything about these mysterious metal towers popping up over New York, which nobody's talking about in the mainstream media? Well, that makes it iffy for a start. I will try to find out some details on them. I suspect, my intuition tells me it's some sort of frequency machine. Maybe they're expecting protests in New York. We'll see. I'll see if I can ask if I remember and get more, see if I can get some more information on that. Why so many Californians at the Vegas concert? What is the connection? Well, California kind of borders Vegas, and depending where you are in California, some of those on the east of California are right on the border. San Bernardino and a few other places like that. I don't think there's anything specific or untoward, put it that way. Have the honeybees and butterflies gone with the birds and other animals that are missing? Possible. How were they collected and by whom and for what purpose? I don't know how they were collected. I know by whom. And if it's what I suspect, they're part of the preparation. For a later date. Any special intel on the Vegas event? Well, I've covered that before. For time. Is America on board with the Kingdom of Mana, and if so, when may we begin to see signs of this? You already have. It's a case of reading between the lines. Mr. Trump's UN speech. was riddled with the term sovereignty. Who's the only nation with the sovereignty who's pushing for the real Americans here to declare sovereignty here? Go and listen to Mr. Trump's speech and how many times he mentions the term sovereignty. Mr. Trump knows who we are. When will the Soros fiasco end? It ended last November, Arlene. The man's dead. Period. What you're seeing running around now is a clone. And you have to remember, it's not just about one man. It's like saying, if you got rid of Hitler, that the SS would fold. No. So the meme of Soros continues, and it's quite convenient because the man is now dead to blame Soros for everything. Black Lives Matter, the gay rights, the Antifa. It just goes on and on and on. It's the hidden hand. Blame this guy while the others hide in the dark. A bit like what went on in Vegas. Let's blame Mr. Paddock when other elements were doing that. Look behind the mirror. Over many years of waiting, you've been waiting for a few. It's been going on 16,500 years. 5 years is nothing. There have been lots of talk about what would happen when the shit hit the fan. It already has. And now, as you stated, we are seeing much of the same type of activities, and it seems to be getting worse. Yes, it is. And it will get worse before it gets better. At what point will we not have to worry about these types of terrible events occurring? When it's all over. Will that be 2 weeks? Unlikely. 2 months? Possible. Could it be another 12 months? Possible also. It just depends on the coordinated effort applied by the many and not the few. You have to remember the enormity of what we've took on here. We had the Draco running around causing chaos. A system that's so ensconced and enmeshed, it would boggle your mind just to look at it, never mind comprehend it. But it wasn't a human system. And now those clowns have left. A lot of the systems were not taught to the human Illuminati, and they don't know what to do with it. It's unraveling, like I said it would. So the shit's already hit the fan. It's been hitting the fan for over 12 months. Like I said, it's all behind the scenes. Every now and again, we're seeing their way of fighting back by creating these staged events. It just needs more people to wake up to reality. They're losing the narrative. And once the public starts fighting back in a clever way, like finding out who the crisis actors are and where they live, and expose them all over the internet so everybody knows that person, like the clown bitch in London, Miss Catwalk, allegedly just been in a flash bomb. Wherever she goes, She's pointed at, humiliated and embarrassed. You were the person that cheated to put the public in fear. We're going to make you fear now. Wherever you go, you're not welcome. Same as those two women that were on the American media. The one with the dark brown hair, just shoulder length, laughing. And the older blonde-looking woman, blonde-haired woman, giggling. 59 people dead and 500 injured, and the two of them are laughing. They weren't part of the event. They took the money to be witnesses, but they were acting. Find out where they live and expose them. Don't get violent with them. You don't have to be violent, you just have to be clever. Post pictures all round their community. You're not welcome here. Go away. That's how the public can fight back. And if Mr. Paddock's brother is involved with a PR company in Orlando where the Pulse event took place, then maybe you have to look into him as well. That's what we can do. Find out who. Somebody must know who these people are and where they live. They can't all be in hiding. Same as the cops tasering old ladies and beating people. And that clown in Miami giving people citations because the fence is down 6 hours after a hurricane. Shame him. If he's got, well, I'm only doing my job. Well, if that's all you're going to do, mate, tell him to sling it. Go and get another job that has some value, that values people's lives, rather than selling yourself out. That's how we fight back. We next. Any update on the Fifth Element? No, not yet. You mentioned that at the UN meeting, the Rothschilds were given a directive ultimatum, and that was to deliver what it was they had been promising. How is it they are still in control of any type of funds? As we've heard many times, that accounts, money, wealth has been frozen and or taken back. It was a bluff. We knew they couldn't deliver. What we were showing to the clowns is watch them not deliver again. How long are you going to continue believing that the Rothschilds are gods? They failed again because they have nothing. Classic bluff. Since the Rothschilds are being taken out, who is behind the latest events? Same people. What is the situation with the Bushes? One's dead. Clinton's, one's dead. Soros, dead. It's the minions who take the dirty money that are the problem. Drake thinks he's Zeus. Is he suffering from dementia? No. I hope not. Yeah. Maybe he can use his powers and start throwing some lightning bolts in the right direction. the people who get recruited for these false flags have to know there is evil intent. Are they even human? Most are, yes, but you have to understand, if you go and listen to the Farley show again, or the two of them, mind you, the first one was enough, and how they break them down, even babies in the womb, they condition them to think their way, which is psychotic and psychopaths. They feel, or they're trained, mind control, to believe they're doing the right thing. This is why they train them from babies with all kinds of heinous methods. Well, if the person who asked the question, if you'd been brought up in an environment to think humanity is just evil, they're always fighting each other, and they're stealing off each other, and they're doing this and that, and we have to protect ourselves, and it's ingrained in your psyche, would you not be the same way? This is where I have some empathy with some of them. Do some of them like doing what they do? Absolutely. Is there a number who don't? Absolutely. Shane Aruna, that's why he did his blog. It wasn't for public consumption, it wasn't for the alternative media. It was for the programme members to step out of the programme, to not do heinous things on behalf of the elites and the cabal. What they've taught you is wrong. It's almost another, like religion. It's a belief system, and they will defend it to the hilt. It's mind control, brainwashing off the scale, where all the basic elements of being a human is about just gets eradicated. No fear, no recalling at the violence that you partake in or watch, no recoiling at watching sacrifices. Most who listen to this show would be close their eyes, turning away, doing everything to not see that. But they've had that compassion taken out of them. It's stripped bare. We have to be kind of grateful we weren't born into those families. I do know a number who were born into those type of families, having spoken to many on my research and being a show host both for Cosmic Voice and for this show. You get to speak to a range of different people that you wouldn't normally do. I wouldn't like to be being born in those families, for all the titles and wealth they could offer. I would still say no. Can we take a break from reincarnation, or are we automatically recycled against our will? We were until 2014. So this is what would be beneficial to the cabal members. A lot of them have done things to keep themselves alive way more than people realise. Yes, they might say they're 90, they're actually an awful lot older. And they need to return to source. They need a life review on a soul level to get back on track. It's like the elders Shane mentioned, 150,000 years old. What use is that if you're not looking after the planet? Has no purpose, does it? In essence, they're festering away inside. And the ultimate, about we can obtain, take this or do that to live forever. Reality is, if you live in the same suit forever, you'll go completely insane. That's what happened to the two parents that are left. They are completely insane. Yes, it would be better to live longer than 70, 80, 90 years. But only if we've got our health. Because it's no fun when you get in your elder years when you can't do this and can't do that because of health. And it's just a life of struggle. This is why we have to redesign the way life is on this planet. Completely redesign. But they've denied returning to source so they can keep going and keep their evil plans going. They need to go back to source, all of them. It would actually be beneficial to them. Is the Vegas shooting unravelling so easily because of higher source help, more than the cabal's ineptness or our growing awareness? People are becoming more and more aware of what is going on around them now, and that is why they are desperate to control the narrative. It's not working, is it? The Vegas in particular, the Barcelona got unravelled, the London Bridge got unravelled, the London train from a week last Friday or 2 weeks last Friday, people were laughing at it. And in essence, Vegas could be the tipping point, because there's very, very basic elements in it that do not make sense. It's not wild conspiracy theories like ET's shot down the Twin Towers, or Bush has brought in loads of military hardware and blew it all. Most people have a problem believing that sort of stuff, even though both may be right or both may be wrong, or one may be right and one may be wrong. But what you can't deny is there was only one gunman, because everyone can hear the same two guns going off at the same time when he made a mistake where one was supposed to stop and another one fires, giving the impression there was only one gunman. But there were times when both guns were going. And yes, one was a long rifle in the distance, and another one, military guns, right in the concert. Where are we? Are we witnessing two factions within the US government trying to take each other down? Yes. If so, could you give an overview? The reason I ask is I have been keeping up with George Webb and Jason Goodman. They are uncovering regarding the supposed spying in Congress, which includes all kinds of dirty dealings at the highest levels of government. Yes, the Congress has been corrupt since 1914. Not 2014, 1914. What is interesting is that there was a run-in with Robert David Steele within the group. Accusations flew, and now I see that this Robert David Steele is saying that the Vegas incident is a Mossad operation. Like I said earlier, it's no coincidence to me that Alex Jones and Robert David Steele announced that. I have given hints before of why. I don't want to go over it again. Where are we? There was one last question. I suppose I better answer it. Why has Drake allowed his group to bust your chops? Does he have a chip on his shoulder towards you? I can't answer the second part. You have to ask Drake that. What I can answer is Drake has to make a choice. He's either in favour of me or he isn't, and he needs to make that clear. At the moment, he's in both camps, and he's pacifying neither. Drake has to make the right call. If he chooses to continue like some of the clowns believe that I'm an MI5 or an MI6 agent or I'm working for the Illuminati, then he needs to come out and say so. Or he needs to tell the clowns in his group to shut up, one way or the other. You're cold, Drake. You can't allow, in this time, people to be distracted with basically childish rubbish name calling. The problem with Cosmic Voices, there's one or two individuals, I don't have to name names, who are rather bitter and twisted because of their own insecurity, and they will not admit they made a mistake. They're lying to themselves, and so they're projecting. Doesn't make any difference to me, but I'd rather your focus be on saving the people in this country than trying to attack me. Because the reality is, I just laugh. Because one day, you'll have to pay your price. You'll have to come to me and apologise. Because it will be proven one day. Like I always say, time will tell. Right. What do you think about China's Silk Road? Do you see it coming to America? Yes, it will. Only if it's beneficial for the people, which it could be. Currently, it's more beneficial for their needs, but it can be repurposed for the people's needs. So either way, it can be helpful. Right, I think that's about it. Well, I hope you enjoyed tonight's show. Plenty to ponder on again. Plenty of food for thought about what you can do and which way you want to be. Do you want to play mind games between groups and drama and argue, or do you want to focus your attention into improving the self and improving those around you. That's down to you. People always ask, what can I do? Well, there you have it. You can carry on playing drama, or you can carry on improving the self. Everyone that improves themselves improves going forward the freedom of this planet, because the collective consciousness will take over, and it won't matter what they're doing. The overwhelming tide of consciousness in a better way will swamp them. Source then reacts. Do you want to live in life in fear, anger, greed, envy? Or do you want to be in love, compassionate and supportive? Your choice. Right. We may be back on Tuesday for an extra show. We'll see if time allows. If not, we'll be back next Thursday. Stay safe. Always be prepared now. You can't not be prepared. And never let anyone put you in fear. My name's Thomas Williams. Bye for now.